Amethyst Virgo. I'm here with the next archetypes of the signs, and here we are talking about Capricorn, Leo, and Gemini. And just up front, again, this is just something to add to your toolkit in terms of understanding astrology. You can look at it in ways to help you better have accuracy in understanding different people. Instead of saying, oh, there's a Capricorn, they're all going to be like this, or Leo's all going to be like this. Understand that, yes, signs will have similar signature energy, but then you can break it down a little bit more with the tendencies of those different types, right? And so also with astrology, the more you know, the better you are at interpretation, and you get away from some of this very, surface level, mainstream understanding of signs, and you can look at it. You can look at my other videos. I talk about the decans, I talk about degrees, and you can really use it to have better understanding of people in general. So now Gemini is a sign people talk about a lot. And when people talk about Gemini, they tend to talk about the same type. They talk about the archetype of the Gemini, who they consider sneaky, to have two sides to them, to talk a lot, right? That's what you tend to see, which is it's simplifying what Gemini really represents, and it's not really uncovering the other modes that this sign can really operate under. So the first type of Gemini type is going to be the creative kind. Okay, this is the Gemini type who likes to take ideas and bring them to life as a mode of communication. So you could have one that is more into music, but their music serves as a mode to communicate to the world. You could have a Gemini that's into art, and they use the art to kind of explain what they see and explain the world. You can have one who's just simply good at maybe just ideas, and that's their way of communicating their creativity to other people through using different modes and different different media or things of that nature. Like when you have the creative type of Gemini, this person tends to really like to see things come alive in a way that helps them express. So the expressive type of Gemini person can sometimes dabble in a lot of different things. This is where you can definitely get the type who, depending on other factors in the chart, this could be a person where it's hard for them to really find what it is they are passionate about, right? This is a mutable air, so unless you have other factors in the chart making the person stick to something, you can have a person who's great at something. I'm sure you've met a Gemini type before. They're really good at something, but sometimes it can be difficult for them to really decide if that's the thing they really want to do. You could put this person, on a team, and they come up with the greatest ideas, but they may not always stick with doing that, right? This could sometimes be the type that is a little frustrating to people, because you could be like, wow, you're so good at this situation, this thing, but they don't keep going, right? Because there is a natural curiosity to the sign. Now, of course, you do have Gemini individuals who are very much dedicated to what they do, and they remain, in that kind of mode or that creative mode. But your first type is going to be that. You could also mix this type with the tendency to the very, this person tends to be more into understanding how other people think as well. This is the type that's more open-minded. This is the type that is not trying to prove what they know. They simply go with the flow. And typically that ends up being a very creative type of individual. There is more, they could sometimes also be really good in terms of helping other people understand their ideas as well. This could be a person that kind of opens up that mode of communication with other people. They get you interested. They get you curious about something. Now, the second type is the less talked about type. This is the type that's very Mercurian. This is probably the type where, if you go back to my decan video, this would be, this is the Gemini prototype, who is the intellectual. This is the one who is into education. They're into being a scholar. They're very studious. This is the Gemini who enjoyed and loved school. This could be a little bit different than your first one. Your first one may be not as committed to certain subjects, whereas your second one is more of that scholarly type. They could be really good when it comes to writing. They could be really good with communication, Words are their superpower, their super strength. They're really good at how they form words. This could be the type that's into poetry, literature. This could be the type that's well spoken. So your second type is going to be more of that scholar type of energy. This is the Gemini who wants you to know they're intelligent. They want you to know that they're smart. And if you have other factors in the chart, this could be one that really lets you know or tells you that. But you're going to see the signature of this person. It's not about it's about the love and appreciation for communication, for learning, for introducing modes of thought to people, right? So this is not the flowery, go with the flow type. This is more of your studious type of Gemini. And I do think this is the one that gets talked about the least. But there are Geminis who have more of a serious disposition. Right? These types are more really into really examining and more exploring every part of their mind possible. Similar to how their opposite sign, Sagittarius, is interested in exploring and being adventurous in terms of finding their path, finding their belief system, finding what intrigues them. You can have the Gemini scholar type of person who's interested in different modes of thought. They're going to study different things. They're going to, be interested in certain types of, learning more about things that can somehow be explained, right? They're not, Gemini is a little bit different than Aquarius that might go into, alternative modes of communication. Aquarius is more associated with technology, astrology, things that are not literal, right? It's kind of Aquarius because you do have to experiment more with Aquarius energy. Whereas Gemini energy is going to be more into studying something that can be explained, something that can be studied, something that can be researched. Now, your third type, this could be the type that is more of what we tend to see. There are people that do fit this bill. There are people that can be a bit non-committal. And I've said before in one of my other videos is like sometimes Gemini could they can come off, you can see it as ways of like they're trying so hard to give information out that can sometimes cause social issues when the Gemini is telling something they shouldn't be telling, right? When that is where they kind of get in trouble, that reputation of like being two-faced, right? You told this person this and that person that, or you told this person, I thought you were on my side, but you're on this. No, the Gemini, very rarely is Gemini is a pure energy worried about sides. It is more about literally communicating and getting something out. And if Gemini feels it can share something with you that you might need to know, they're going to do that. It's not an emotional attachment. It's typically, unless you do have an unevolved Gemini person that does like to, Gemini, Mercury, we know is a trickster. It can distort information. It can get people, in trouble sometimes or get themselves in trouble. That is a part of Gemini's. If you look at the whole symbolism of Gemini, right? You think of the symbolism of Mercury. Mercury can be that trickster energy. But at the same time, this is going to be the Gemini who does not feel they need to stay put, right? The difference between this and the creative one is the creative one is doing something through a mode of really trying to express and figure out what it is that they want to show the world, tell the world. Whereas with the third type, this is more of, you can see more of a flightiness. And sometimes flightiness, this can be the go with the flow person though. Though they can be subject to their own whims, decisions do not need to be final with these types of people. They could be a little non-committal, which you can view as duplicitous. You could view as sneaky. They view it as just, I'm doing what I need to do in the moment. And I changed my mind. Right? Gemini, and sometimes you need a Gemini energy person to be that voice of reason, because sometimes, Gemini is Mercurian. Gemini, does know the facts. Gemini tends to know the facts. Now, if the Gemini person tends to study them, or the person tends to want to express them, or if the person just wants to use them to manipulate them, that will all depend on the individual and the energy within the chart. But what I like about the Gemini energy in terms of this is like sometimes you do need people who can go with the flow. Sometimes you need individuals who are not going to give everyone a hard time. Sometimes you need someone who is open to trying new things. Hey, I never thought of it that before, but that makes sense. Let's try that. That's Gemini. It's not saying, let me test this method out before I can commit to it. Let me figure this out. Gemini is more of this flowing type of energy and this and with their ability to look at situations and sometimes make split decisions. And sometimes those decisions are not things that you would expect. But it's different than Aquarius because it's not trying to rebel. Gemini is operating on what new information it just got. And if it just got new information, it might change directions, especially if you have people with that Mars and Gemini energy. They can be very, sometimes it can be quite unpredictable. Now with Capricorn, okay, so with Capricorn, we're going to have three different types. Your first type is going to be the one who challenges themselves. This is not the Capricorn seeking world dominance. The first type is not necessarily the Capricorn that is going to be seeking, their reputation has to be profound. This is the type who puts a lot of pressure on themselves to succeed. This is the type that may not even understand fully what they're trying to achieve. They just know they have to win. It is more of an internal battle for this type. They might be quiet about their success. Yes, there are Capricorns who are quiet about their success because it's personal for them. It's not about taking over the world, right? Now, do they want to sometimes be acknowledged? Of course, most people do. And I would say any energy at its core is going to want the accolades of its sign. What do I mean? A Capricorn, even a humble Capricorn, is going to want to some level of appreciation. They're going to want to know they did something the best. They're going to want to know that you notice what they've done. So regardless of whether someone's humble or not, you're going to tend to see that, right? They can be quite diligent. Okay, they will protect their reputation. So that's where you'll see the kind of Capricorn energy kind of come out. There will be this level of protecting their reputation. Like if you say they did something wrong and they know they didn't do something wrong, they're going to fight you on that, because Capricorn is how kind of like how Leo is prideful. Capricorn's level of being prideful is because they view like, no, I've done this work. I put this work in. I structured this so that it's going to work. I put the work in. That's how Capricorn can be. Whereas Leo tends to make a lot of assumptions, but I'm the best, or I'm good at this. Like, that's why, right? And so with Capricorn, it's typically that earth energy. Now, sometimes Capricorn does have to loosen up. It does have to change directions and not be so much into doing something a particular way just because that's what they're comfortable with. But your first type is more of a quiet type in terms of what they have achieved. They can be, they could be put more pressure on themselves, like I said earlier. And, they will, sometimes come out of their shell, but they're mostly going to be focused on self and focused on making sure that they are pushing themselves to the level they need to be. And sometimes these are the type that you do have to tell them not to put as much pressure on themselves. Now, luckily, if they have other things in the chart, other aspects that can lessen that internal pressure, that can help. But your first type are not going to be the ones that are trying to compete with you. They're not browbeating you. The first type, it's more of something within themselves than it is outside of themselves. Now, the second type, they want to win. They can be competitive, but able to play the long game. Okay, that's why the goal. The second one is reaching towards a goal. Your second type is now a little bit more consumed with success. Your second type wants to be seen and noticed among the crowd. Your second type is not necessarily trying to do it in a way to be, performative, but your second type it cares a little bit more about reputation. It cares about how they may be perceived. This is the type of Capricorn where, for the most part, they can even be like really cool people to know. But the minute something affects their image or how they'll be seen, that is where you'll see this very competitive side of them come out. That sometimes you're like, whoa, where did that come from? But it's going to be because the second type cares a lot about image and reputation. It matters to them. So even when you have a person that's a Capricorn that is not one of the ruthless types, who is not one of the types that's just trying to do anything to get to the top, you're always going to be confronted with a person whose image and there's a protective layer to their how they are perceived by other people. And because of that, these second types can put a lot of pressure on their family, on their friends, on their loved ones, on anyone around them, right? On their team. They put the pressure on the team. So do you see the difference between the first and the second? The first is pressure on self. The second is now their success sometimes can be contingent on other people. And if they're shooting for a goal, these types can be a little bit more vocal about what they need from other people, right? What I also would say about this type is that, they know that they want to win. It becomes important for them to be seen as winners. And with the second type, and I'll talk about the third type in a moment, but the second type, there's always going to be some kind of natural need to be involved in something where there is a competition. And whether that's somebody that's into sports, whether that is somebody that is into, I don't know, competitive bowling, whether that is someone that is, runs 5K marathons, whether that is somebody that enters contests every year, this person is inching more towards wanting to be seen and celebrated, not in the Leo way. I bring up Capricorn and Leo because though these are very distinctly different signs, they both, in a way, care about reputation and power, but it's for different reasons, of course. Now, your third type of Capricorn is going to be what movies would make a Capricorn, right? The archetype of the ruthless person, the person who's going to say goals over emotions every time. Okay, this is goals over emotions. Getting what they want comes first, and everything else is kind of, collateral damage. Your third type is, I would say, you don't see this all the time, but this is the archetype of a person that does not, it's not about feelings, it's about obtaining what it is you're supposed to obtain. And for those of you who don't operate like that, it's very hard to understand this nature. It is very hard and we can see this prototype even in the world and how the world functions, where there is this level of like power and control over the needs of other people, right? This is where you can get that kind of distinction between even Aquarius and Capricorn energy. Now, again, depending on the situation, where this one is trying to do something in order to get for themselves. So this less is about the community. It's not about sharing responsibilities. In fact, the third type, when you see, people who have power, or one thing Capricorn is really good at, and I've seen this in person, is delegating. Capricorn knows who should be doing what. And that can be one of their strengths. They know, they sense out who, but why do they do it? Why are they good at it? It's different than maybe Virgo, where Virgo is very specific about it, and Virgo was trying to use the most productive method. Capricorn is good at it because Capricorn knows if they're going to win, there are certain people that need to be on the chessboard, right? If they're going to win, they need you here, and you here. So Capricorn can be really good at knowing who's going to help them win, because they're not going to pick people who can't help them win. Capricorn is going to pick people based on their ability to play a certain role or be a part of their plan. And the third type, now, if you might be the third type, it doesn't mean you're trying to take over the world or you're ruthless, but you might be the type of person who's like, look, my goals come before anything, any day. I need to make sure this is done in my life, and then I'm going to worry about my feelings, or then I'm going to worry about other people's feelings. But I need to make sure that this situation, this goal, this is taken care of. And sometimes some people with this energy, it's not that they don't care about others, it's that earth energy is interesting in that earth really needs to see an outcome. And that is why sometimes people look at earth energies, earth signs, like, oh, okay, are they cold? Are they distant? Are they emotional? Emotionless? It's not that, but earth needs to see something physically in front of it. And so that's what matters a lot to Capricorn. It's seeing success. And success doesn't have to mean you got a big bonus, but I'm sure they don't mind that. But Capricorn, it's even about seeing goals that are personal in their life come first. This is the person that's maybe like, look, guess what? They might be a little late to dinner because they're working out, because they care so much about, working in their fitness. This is the person who's like, no, I have to stay home. I have to stay late at work. And they're really at work because they have to get that project done, right? And so that type, now the thing that this type though, is they're doing these things kind of at sometimes at the detriment of their relationships. Whereas the first and the second archetype, from what I've seen, don't tend to do that all that much. Now, Leo. Okay. So, Leo, the first type, a lot of times Leo can be quite creative. And I don't want everyone to think that creative has to mean that you're a painter. I just happen to use this art this art image. Um, you know, it doesn't have to mean that you're an artist, that you are, you're able to like make sculptures. Some people are tattoo artists, some people design sneakers and t-shirts, some people are just really creative. I knew a Leo teacher. She was very creative in the classroom. Like, she knew how to make things colorful and cheerful for students. Leo sometimes can be creative in terms of the aesthetics of things. How do things look? How polished are they, right? That can be Leo. So your first type. Now, how does this manifest in terms of a personality type? These are the types that care a lot about the celebration, how things look, how things seem, how things are displayed. Their first type of Leo is it cares about how things are displayed, how things are seen, and that can sometimes be the creative type, but sometimes it simply is the type of Leo that cares more about the aesthetics. What does it look like? What do I have? What am I showing people that I have? What do I own, even, maybe, right? So your first type is gonna be the Leo type, where it can be flashy, but it sometimes can just be more of that creative type, because what they're doing is objects and creativity and things they create and things that they have and possess are expression and extension of themselves. And if you see a Leo person that is very expressive in terms of what they create or how they do things, you'll see it, because it'll be the kid who has to do the projects, but the Leo kid has like the glitter and it has all this like extra stuff on it. Like, it's expressive. It's like, look, I'm shining. Look at this. But again, it's different than the third type. The first type is express using objects or using things they've created or done to express self. It is not as egotistical, this archetype. It's not about ego. It's not ego driven. It is really about, let me use what I have around me to make my environment more cheerful, to make my environment happier. Sometimes the first type is more, into those types of endeavors. So this is the type that is not ego driven, but is driven by expressing self. And they may want attention for that. Even the personality type can be a little bit open, especially when it comes to like wanting to be known and acknowledged for what they have done. So if this is the type, yes, you want to give them, especially if it's a child, give them, build up their confidence, give them appreciation, show them appreciation for things that they've done. The things that are, coming from themselves in terms of being creative, in terms of being talented, that's something to just think about. Especially, we think of archetypes, a lot of times our minds go to ourselves or adults, but this also can pertain to children. Now, your second type. Well, the second type is this is the type that's a little bit more celebratory. This is the type that is always willing to party. This could be the type that's always willing to do a gathering. They always want to have like after work gatherings. This is a tree birthday. They are throwing a party. Okay. They're not letting a year go by without partying. Okay. That's not like, it's not a question. This is the type that sometimes you can see in some Leo archetypes. There's a fear of being alone or fear of not being noticed. Sometimes you can see types that are pretty loud. And this type, I wouldn't say is, it's not doing it to be egregious. It's doing it to get attention in a ways to sometimes even bring other people in. I've said this before on one of my other videos. I think I've seen good Leo energy where some Leos bring people into the fold. They're not judging you. They're not saying I'm funner than you, but they're really just want everybody to have fun. Like, come on, dude, come on, you come over. Like, there are Leos who are, I've seen it. When they're having fun, they want you to be having fun. But the second type really tends to not want to be alone. They always have to kind of be around other people, or they always have to have something going on. They have to be out. They have to be involved in something. Oh, it's a concert. Oh, it's a performance. Let me go. One thing I said in one of my more like serious videos, these are just more like, archetypes. It's a little bit more lighthearted. My more serious videos, I've talked about like Leo making sure it's really clear in what bothers, right? The Leo person. I'm not talking about archetypes, but the Leo person being clear on what bothers them, because you can have people that are like, Leo gets such this reputation often for just being jolly or being fun or being entertainment or being confident, that sometimes a lot of people don't want to drop that, right? Because remember, Leo can be the great performer, okay? But it can struggle. It's not like Cancer. Whereas Cancer, you can know immediately, whether they say it or not, Cancer's energy just changes. They just shift. But Leo has to not always, like a Leo person who's going through things, you don't always have to be the entertainment. But sometimes Leo struggles because people don't take them seriously when they are not the life of the party. Because now, right, they now have to pat you on the back and tell you you're okay when, you know, Leo's the one usually that's in a good vibe. So sometimes that can be the pitfall of Leo energy, especially the second type that just wants people around. You can have a lot of people around, but who are your real friends? So that's just something also that can happen. Now, your third type. Now, I'm going to go in. I am not, I told you, one of my favorite signs is Leo. And I've explained why before. But honestly, that doesn't mean every Leo is my favorite. This is the type. This is going to be the type. Let me go in. This could be the type that's cocky. They're arrogant. They're egregious. Egregious meaning everything is big. Everything, like nothing can just be chill. Nothing can be relaxed. Everything has to be extensive. Like your partner just told you they don't want a birthday party, but you go and rent horses and carriages and this big hall, and you make this big production, and your partner's like, I didn't ask for all of that, right? Because the third sometimes can impose on other people. But it's an ego-driven thing. So this is not the generous type, right? I wouldn't say this is like the second type. This is the type that does a lot, kind of like what I said about the Capricorn number 3. This is the third type. It's about them. Okay. And this is going to be the type of Leo that thinks they have no faults. There is a lack of, you know, whereas you can see Virgo can be too hard on itself and pick apart what it didn't do right. There can be some Leo individuals that do not have that ability. Now, you do have Leos that do, because Leo, you have a person who's a Leo, but they have Mercury in Virgo, or they have Venus in Virgo, so or they have an ascendant, Virgo ascendant, Virgo moon. So it's very possible to have Leos who have that level of humility. But this type would be loud, egregious, infallible. There's a lack of understanding they can better themselves. There is this belief that they're already good at everything. And that sometimes can be the turnoff of some Leo individuals, is when you believe that you're already good at everything when you're not, right? Like you can't, like, I mean, there's things that, you know, we're all not going to be masters of everything, and that's okay. But this is the person where the first try, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Now it's even worse if you get a Leo, like, and maybe they were Leo and their sun is trining Jupiter and Sagittarius, or their what else could be happening? Or their sun is sextiling Jupiter, and other aspects in the mix. It would have to be other aspects in the mix. You can get a braggart. You can get a person that exaggerates, that tells things that are not true. Because remember, to this type, everything is larger than life, including themselves. And so because of that, there's a lack of understanding how to assess themselves, how to improve themselves, how to speak about themselves in terms that allow for them to be vulnerable, you know, and be vulnerable about the things they need to improve and need to fix. Now, again, the third type is the type that people tend to think about. People who don't like Leos, that's the type they're thinking about. The cocky, arrogant, I do everything better than so and so. I do better. Everything I do is better than what you do. And again, I'm not saying that's mostly type. And like I said, I've met Leo individuals that I like, and so this is not me bashing them, but I am doing the archetypes, and I do want to be honest about where some of the things we can see. That was it for this video. I do have one last archetype video to do, and please like the video, make sure you subscribed, drop a comment if you can relate to any of this, and thank you for watching.